What's happening, everybody? It's your man, Dame D, NYDC. Excuse me, it's two mics up. Business Corner. Back on this Friday, whole new conversation. And today's conversation is, you know, the benefits of, being a podcaster or, a talk show host, content creator, whatever you want to call it, right? But there are real benefits to podcasting. And I'm going to talk about those today in today's business corner. Make sure you follow Two Mics Up across all social media, IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Two Mics Up. And before we get started, if you're here, go ahead and make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell before you leave today so that you can be notified by all the newest content coming to you from me here at Two Mics Up. All right. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I've had conversation with a lot of different folks who are not really sure if podcasting is something that's really for them. Now, by the end of this conversation, though, I hope and I'm almost sure that you probably think differently, right? Now, podcasting can really help whether you're an independent creator or you're a full-on business owner. Podcasting will offer you several benefits that you've probably not even considered, right? Now, when I say things that you probably haven't considered, that comes from, additional income. You can create greater brand awareness for your business or your brand. Um, like for myself and to myself, we've had a tremendous success, expanding our global reach. Being a part of the Mogul TV Global Network, we are now in 32 countries. So that is huge. If it's you're really trying to expand your brand to give your brand more visibility. Um, Podcasting is definitely a medium that can provide you with a return on your investment, but you have to put in that work to be able to see that return, and that return does not, for many, happen overnight, but it is possible, for it to happen. Now, I want to share with you, and the greatest thing about podcasting, really, at the end of the day, is that it's super easy. Once you put in the work and you develop, your style and how you want to go ahead and see yourself, come across to your audience every week. It's very budget friendly, and it's really a long form or long format. So you really have all the space and time you need to make, your podcast really something that's completely your own. And I think, that's a great part. Now, in today's conversation, I want to show you why why you really need to be podcasting. Though I think, like I said early on, as we go through this, you won't need too much convincing uh, to do that. Now, the biggest reason to start a podcast is that it's easy and it's budget friendly. Like I said, you can use platforms like StreamYard, which I use. There's Riverside and others. Really make creating, your show look very professional. And like I said, it's super easy to do. You know, next, podcasting, benefits both independent creators and those who are business owners. One and the same. Two different walks, but it does benefit both ends of the spectrum. Um, in a short form, content world, if you will. Podcasting, and talk shows online, you know, Two Mics Up, Club Shay Shay and the others, stands out, as an invaluable long form content type. And what makes it even better is though, so even though some may not see your show live, if you build up a catalog and a library like we have here at Two Mics Up through our YouTube channel and through the Mogul TV Global Network, you can always go back and watch our shows because we are video casting now, but we also have our library that's across any streaming platform that you choose to listen to. You'd be hard not to find Two Mics Up on any streaming platform. So again, you can go back and listen to the show at your leisure. So that really helps. Now, I just want to throw out there, uh, in 2022, and that was really the last time I looked, but I know I have some numbers somewhere for 2023. I'm going to find them. But there were 100 million, listen, 100 million active podcast listeners just in the US alone. So again, like I said before, why should you start a podcast? It's a versatile medium that's unlike any other media, output, really. It's totally different than your news or your radio. It's unlike any of those. It's a great way for you to create, your own personal, content or your own business platform. It helps you establish your voice. It harnesses a captive audience, builds a base, and it really cultivates a loyal community. And where can you go, especially like for your business or your brand, that you can really get that? You can do this through your own podcast and your own platform, right? Now, whether, like I said, you're an individual creator or a business, the potential benefit, works for you in a number of different ways. And probably, or I should say, perhaps the most uh, important or big reason to start a podcast, though, is just how easy it is. Like I said, there's no prior experience that you need. There's no expertise to this. You can start your own podcast, and you really don't have to do it, with what most other business platforms or areas need, capital, money. Now, what you do need to do, though, is be dedicated. Put in the work that is going to be required for you to be able to become successful. And that's like any other job, any other business, or any other thing that you do. Your time is really the investment. Podcasting is no different. Okay. Now, you may be asking, well, Dame, what do the stats say? Let me share some stats with you. Podcasting statistics and trends. And here's what I was talking about. 2023 was a record year for podcasts with 150 million active podcast listeners, right? So that's active podcast listeners in 2023. And that's just the US alone, okay? Now that's a huge audience that you yourself, if you, decided that you want to start today and get things rolling, you could tap into that audience of 150 active listeners today just by starting a podcast, right? Now, according to Infinite Dial, which was a 2022 report, 209 people in the US listened to online audio only. So what I'm presenting here today, I do in both audio and video, but I'm just not even talking about the video portion. If you just decided that you're not comfortable, video recording yourself and presenting it, to the masses over a YouTube channel or any other platform like that, if you wanted to do audio only, 209 million people, in the US listen to online audio monthly, right? 226 million people were familiar with podcasting, right? Here's another one. People listen to podcasts in their car at a clip of almost 32% of the time. So think about that. You have an opportunity where people are in their car that 32%, it's almost a third, will listen to a podcast which could potentially be yours versus listening to the radio, playing their CD, listening to Sirius or whatever it is that they have in their car. They could be listening to your podcast. Weekly podcast listeners averaged about 8 podcast episodes each week. Now, if you're putting out content and, like most people, they may not listen all at once, like the binge watch or binge listen. If they haven't heard you and they've come to your show and they see, oh, dang man, wow, he's putting them out. Being consistent with your product, he's putting them out. I'm running behind. And I've had people tell me this. They've gone on road trips or whatever, and they sat down and they listened to 4, 5, 6 shows of mine. Because they were in the car and we missed what was going on. They binge listen. So 8 episodes per week on average. US podcast dollars are projected to increase by almost $4 billion in 2024. I'm going to say that again. US podcast advertising. As you see the advertising that I'm going to go ahead and show you here. Today's episode brought to you by Riddick Entertainment, our advertiser. For those of you, it's projected to increase to $4 billion by 2024. That's advertising in the podcast industry. Podcasts enjoy a balanced listenership, between men and women, non-binary or other. So you're reaching a large swath of people, and it's even, and podcast listeners are evenly split between the terms of age. And I can speak to that. My numbers are generally in line with what I'm about to read with you. 36% of the listeners who listen to Two Mics Up on average are between the ages of 12 and 36. Another 30% are between the ages of 35 and 54. Then there's about another 34% that are 55 and above. So again, it's evenly broke out, and there's something for everyone generally when you're doing a podcast. So think about it. Why haven't you started yours today? Now I want to continue. I want to give you some benefits, some actual benefits that I think are worth it, and let's start, with the huge potential audience, right? As I stated, before, getting to this point, podcasting gives you, a huge potential listenership, right? No question. Look at how, a lot of shows blow up, Joe Rogan, Joe Budden, Club Shay Shay, gives you an opportunity to really, have a huge audience. A lot of times it is about what you talk about and how you want to deliver your content. Granted. But if you can tap into just a small portion, of an avid podcast listening base, and I really believe in this part worldwide, you'll gain an invaluable captive audience, even with a niche, kind of what I do sometimes. I do my business corner on Friday, like this episode. It's really built to talk about business, right? You'll be able to monetize this, as you see, with ads, partnerships, or even branded merch. We bringing out some brand new, Two Mics Up merch. This right here, we're going to be bringing it out, right? We're going to be bringing more merch. There's also, that global reach I talked about. That's the second part. Podcasts are an international medium. It's just bigger than the US. The numbers that I talked about are huge here in the US, but podcasting is international. It has a huge reach. So even, being based here in the DMV, my content, reaches ears across the globe. Like I said, 32 countries. Like, funny enough, I'm big in the Philippines. When I looked at the numbers, like, wow, I'm big in the Philippines. I'm big in, China, Japan. Like, wow, who knew, right? When you really look at the numbers, and then, you break it down, you look here, I'm big in certain areas of the United States, but I have a global reach. Now, this is really exciting, for, those who haven't started, but if you're an individual content creator or, looking for a way to expand, well, this is a way. Or if you're a business owner, trying to build your brand, and you're looking for a way to tap into the international space, well, this is a way to build your presence in the international spaces by starting, your own podcast, and it's possible. I mentioned earlier. Now, to me, as I started doing and really venturing into it, this is kind of a no-brainer. Podcasting and really content creating in this manner, in this form, it's easy, and it's really budget friendly on your pocket. And a lot of times people, want to be able to have a little more control over what they spend or how they spend. And podcasting and content creating in this format really allows you to do so, because you spend as you grow, yes, but then you really can kind of control what you're spending on, what you can kind of control what your spending looks like, right? And it's really based on need. Now, moreover, and I just want to continue saying, like, you don't need a huge budget, to create a podcast that's worth listening to. And that's especially crucial, like I said, if you do not want to jump on the video side. If you want to stay in that online pocket, this saves you tremendously, because it's all audio content, so that's where the route you want to go, and you're really concerned about saving on your budget or on your pocket. Think of this thing in the audio pocket, because once you get into video, it can become a bit more expensive, because you do want to be able to create looks and have clean, crisp, you know, visual effects, lighting and different things of that nature. So it can be a little bit more expensive, but it's still budget friendly, in my opinion. Now, what podcasting also gives you is that it's a unique outlet, right? This is a very unique space because it's your space, right? To hone your craft and your skills and really create your brand's identity, right? And then on top of that, you are creating your brand's voice, right? What does True Mike's Up look like and sound like? When I'm given the opportunity to come into your homes, every Monday night on the Mobile TV Global Network. I'm allowed, you listen to me on your favorite streaming platform, or what it looks like, every Friday when I bring you this business call, right? I'm able to really develop and hone in and create the voice of my brand, the look of my brand. You get the whole total package by doing this, right? And by building my brand, it's allowed me to really extend, you know, the tone, if you will, of the show and its visual identity. So now you see the logo, you identify that, whether it be, me on my personal page, or whether that be me here as the host of Two Mics Up, you start to understand and get the melding of the two, right? They're really one symbiotic piece. So it really allows me to, like I said, continue to give you the tone of the show and the visual identity of the show. Now, the other part that really helps by having this form, or this form, if you will, of podcasting, it really does allow you to repurpose your content. And you can repurpose your content in a lot of different ways. You can make it look a lot of different ways, make it sound different, however you want. But that's a huge benefit when it comes to podcasting. It's just how easy it is to really repurpose, your content. You don't need to reserve podcasts, just for audio or video channels. You can also repurpose your podcast transcripts, right? So now if you want to get into blogging or other social media content, you can take those transcripts and use them for that. There are ways to go ahead and break those transcripts down and use them in other forums. So again, repurposing your content comes in different ways and in different fashions. Now, I also want you to know, and I think this is huge. I mentioned this earlier, it gives you time to build a library where people can go back and listen or watch your content or your shows. So by podcasting, what it does is it develops these long lasting libraries of content, right? And it's a stand apart, if you will. It's a stand apart, from short social media content, if you will. And the biggest part and the biggest caveat by having these long lasting libraries of content, especially if you're doing them in this platform, is that they never disappear. So your shows and your episodes are cataloged and they're put in these libraries and they don't go anywhere. The media is always going to be out there, whether it be audio or video. Same thing for your advertising partners. Even though they may not be your advertising partner today, but if they were an advertising partner 2 years ago, their ads still exist. They still reside on your show and they still reside on your platform. And as business owners, if they're smart, they learn how to use your show to help supplement the ad that they're paying for, to create conversation, where it can be seen, why it was seen. It's long lasting contents of library and they don't go away. Now, your audience can always go back and enjoy them whenever they want. And this also means that for you, the content creator, once you get to a point, whether it be on YouTube or whatever deals that you may have, you can continue to make money from those previous episodes. So again, I've been blessed, we've been doing this here going on 4 years, over 250 some episodes, whether they be live, business corner, the Two Mics Up show, 250 episode catalog and counting, and being on other people's shows, being able to speak goes a long way in this long lasting catalog that I'm creating. Eventually, the piggy bank in the jar has to break open and all of that content, I have the potential to get paid for. So I just wanted to share that with you. And before I get into the next segment, I want to take a moment to go ahead and thank our partners, our advertising partners for, continuing to support Two Mics Up, right? Without them, I would not be able to be here using this platform to bring you the guests that we bring you each and every week, to bring you this type of conversation with this type of content to you each and every week. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short pause for the cause, and we'll be right back after the break. All right, y'all, we fresh out the break. We're going to continue this conversation about the benefits of podcasting. And, I want to continue by just doing that, getting into the benefits, especially if, you're thinking about launching, let's say, a business podcast. I want to talk to the business folks first, right? And here's why I believe you should definitely take the leap into the podcasting pool. One, it helps generate leads, for your business. Podcasts are a very powerful lead generator. You know, According to Edison research, about 51% of the people or listeners pay attention to podcast ads more than other media, and 56% consider purchasing after listening to a brand's podcast ad. Business owners, what are you waiting for? It's a no-brainer, right? It's also, by doing this here, it really has added an additional income stream. Like I said, some are blessed to have, bigger sponsors, greater sponsors, whatever, wherever you are in your journey. But it does become an additional income stream. And podcasts can become a very lucrative standalone income stream for your business if monetized effectively. Now, you can't forge high value partnerships and sell advertising spots in your content. Okay. So just think about that and really work towards, creating that. The other thing you want to do as a business owner, what podcasting allows you to do as business owners, it establishes your expertise, right? Podcasters are highly valuable. Um, it's a highly valuable way, I should say, to establish your business thought, your leadership, and your expertise, on your own platform. You can feature people from within your own business or invite industry experts, if you will, to talk about pressing issues in your field. You know, this will help you cement your business uh, as a vocal and trustworthy voice within your business sector. And that goes a long way. That's really establishing your expertise. That's unchallenged and goes a long way for your business and your brand long term. Podcasting also, and I think this is key if you're a business owner, it connects you with your customers, right? Gives you another way to connect. Using your podcast, you can start to really humanize, if you will, your business and connect with your consumers on that human level, right? Really, they really get to see a side of you that maybe they've never seen before. That could be a huge bump in business. You can build on a strong podcast community. You can include your listeners in your podcast by answering their questions or inviting them onto your recording. Why not challenge yourself? You know, give that conversation back to your customers. This is another effective way, or really an effective strategy for cultivating, credibility and loyalty amongst your customers. All right. And I think the last thing that, as a business owner, by starting or taking that leap today into podcasting, is that it'll help you increase your brand's awareness. And who doesn't want that, right? At the end of the day, this is why I do it. I think most people who are in business, use social media or get onto these platforms to increase their brand and their brand awareness. And, a podcast is a highly effective, way to really do that, and it gives you a way to do it from a different angle, right? Firstly, you're likely to reach new ears through your podcast, which is what you want. You want to be able to get new eyes and ears on your brand. And it's a great way, right, to increase your brand's exposure. Additionally, you'll have another outlet through which to convey, more context, more of your business message and background to what it is that your business actually does, right? So now it gives you another way to get all of that out to a new set of ears and to a new set of potential clients and customers. That's what we want. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to shift and I want to talk to those of you who are, I don't know, individual uh, content creators, right? And this is a great option, for a number of reasons. One is fun and easy. If you're really good at content creating, you're free and you have all of these ideas, it's fun and it's easy because, one, again, it's budget friendly, right? And more importantly, like I said, it's fun. You are able to really use your unique talents to create your own outlet and space. You can really make uh, your show your own. You have no hindrance, no one holding you back. There's no one for you to have to really sit down and kind of go through the layers to kind of lay out your content. And since there's really no set formula, you can launch a podcast that sits within a really specific niche or space, or you can make it as broad and wide open as you want. And that's great if you're an individual content creator. Same thing goes with the monetization part. If you're looking for a way to create uh, as we like to say today, a side hustle that's valuable, podcasts are definitely the way for you to go. There are several ways that, you as an individual can monetize um, your content, from whether it be subscriptions, to merch, to sponsorships, and even ads, kind of like what I do, and I fall into that space. When you combine all of these, podcasts have the potential to become a more lucrative source of income. And that's what you really want. That's what you strive for, right? And lastly, and this one is big for me, it creates a community. With consistency and determination. As a solo podcaster, solo talk show host, you have to be consistent. You have to stay determined to bring conversation and talk that's engaging, that is challenging, that people can laugh at times, they can learn from at times. Heck, they might cry from at times because you're talking about something that really hits home or touches them, but you do it in a safe space. And that's what I do. And that really works for me. And what it does is it creates a loyal following, and it builds, a really valuable community, through podcasting or through a talk show. Your audience will support and complement any existing social presence that you may have. But again, you have to stay consistent and determined into getting to that point. Now, talked about, you, the individual, the content creator, the podcaster. But what about the benefits for your listeners? That's huge, right? And I think that's a part that sometimes we overlook. You have to remember that when you're podcasting, you're not doing it for yourself. You're actually, you know, doing it to exist as a show, but you're doing it for your existing and future or potential future listeners, right? So you're not doing it just for yourself. You want to do it for the community that's listening, but also for the community of that could potentially exist for you to help your network and your podcast grow. Now, from their perspective, here's why podcasting could be or is so great, right? One is added value. Podcast gives, listeners the chance to access valuable, engaging, and compelling conversations in a very detailed, long format, right? It's very detailed. Then there's the aspect of personal insights. Sometimes when we talk, we like to hear what other people have to say and their insight on how they got from A to B. Well, podcasts represent an opportunity for, our listeners to connect on a personal level, not only with you, but with your voice and your brand's voice, right? They get to identify and connect. That is huge, not only for you, but this is what your audience really wants. They want to be able to have that connection. Third is that they are empowered to choose when and where they want to listen. And that's the part that you have to also understand. Our audience has the right. They're empowered. They have the power to choose. And that's the biggest benefit, though, of podcasting is that, your listeners can tune in to you, your voice, your brand, when they want to, how they want to. And since podcasts really don't go anywhere, because like I said earlier, it's a long-lasting library that stays infinitely. They're not going to go anywhere once your shows are published. So they can always go and find it. They can listen when and how they want, right? And that's what you want to give them. You want to empower them with the option and the opportunity to do so at their convenience. Now, what I want to do is, really quick, I want to give you some tips for leveraging, the podcast, right? And what I say by that is, if you want to make the most of all that podcasting, has to offer, I'm going to give you some tips, right? And these were tips that I learned along the way. You're going to need the right tools, okay? So that means the right tools: record, edit, publish, and manage your podcast or your show. It's especially important if you want to create a sustainable podcasting workflow. If you don't have those tools, you can't continue to create content consistently, crisply, cleanly. It's very important. Opt for the tools that makes the entire podcasting process for you, and this is just my opinion, as seamless and easy as possible, especially for those of you who may be a beginner. Now, you have top quality, video and audio remote recordings like what I use, and they're easy for setup. I use StreamYard, but there's Riverside and others that you can use, and they're great places to start for you. Also, I want to, be clear that podcasting does not end when you hit the publish button. Doesn't end. You need to be monitoring, and this will help, as you grow. I'm just sharing these, you want to monitor, your analytics. And if you're going to be monetizing your content, look for a tool that lets you manage your various income streams from a centralized platform. Just a tip. Now, next tip is consistency. You heard me talk about it. Consistency, consistency, consistency. If you're looking for instant results and tone down your expectations just a bit, please. Don't go ahead and think this is going to be an instant hit overnight. Podcasting takes determination, dedication, and consistency. You really need to be committed to a regular publication schedule in order to start seeing return on your investment. I've been blessed now. This is going on 6 seasons, 2 mics up. We've been able to stay consistent, and we've been able to grow our platform. You see me Monday nights, 8 p.m., on the Mogul TV Global Network. You'll see me every other Wednesday, the second and fourth Wednesdays of a month. I'll go live. And Fridays, I bring you business corners, conversations, all 3 separate independent shows, but they all have their own voice and their own identity. But that did not happen by just me doing it. You had to build to it. I had to be consistent. I had to stay dedicated. I had to stay determined to get to this point. So it is possible. Next feature is that the next feature or tool that's important: proper branding. A consistent and coherent podcast brand is essential for building out, an audience or listenership. This is especially critical if you're launching a business podcast, right? Refine your tone of voice, how you speak, how you deliver, your topic areas. Do you want them to be very niche centric, or are you going to kind of open up the floodgates? And then your visual identity. They all need to match. The whole overarching thing needs to match your business branding. Okay. Then there's the marketing piece. It's another tip. Publishing your podcast episodes on major listening platforms only get you so far. And I'm just being honest. You need to support your efforts with, a proper and far-reaching podcast marketing and promotion strategy. Now, this can include, an active social media presence, as well as thinking strategically about the kinds of guests you invite onto your show. There's a lot of things that, go hand in hand on your marketing strategy, but that's going, I'm just sharing those 2 pieces because that's what I do. But, you should really think about it and dive into that further, to establish or continue to establish your marketing strategy and program. Now, how do I want to say? Some of the more frequently asked questions, which, some I've talked about, about starting a podcast. And I know it's easier than it sounds, but here's some things that you need to do in short. When you're starting your podcast, sometimes it would help to plan your podcast topic, or if there's a niche that you want to speak directly to, or if there's a target audience that you want to specifically speak to. I said earlier, get you some podcast equipment, software that's suited to your needs. Okay. Invite guests and prepare. Preparation, people. You have to prepare for your first few podcast episodes. This is going to help kind of get things under your belt, get you comfortable, get you in your sway. People, oh man, I like how you do, I got this thing, my man, I'm Dame D, NYDC. Like, you have to kind of build and get yourself to a situation to where you're prepared and ready for your guests in your first couple of episodes. You record and edit. your first podcast recordings. Now that's going to be tricky. If it's not for you, go out and get yourself a company that will help you edit your podcasting. Because I will say, I've been blessed. I've had the opportunity to be trained on, how to, edit my shows. And I kind of take that on, and I've gotten better, and I've been able to do that fairly easily. But it's not for everybody. You don't want to become an editor. If you're a content creator or a talk show host or a podcaster, that's what you want to do. And if you don't have the time to go ahead and do that, then find yourself a company that'll do it for you. Create a brand artwork for your podcast cover and logo. You've seen our cover to Business Corner, and here on this recording, you can see one of our logos. And I like this logo for the Business Corner logo. Publish your podcast and show. Have to hit that publish button after you do all of the background work, all of the editing, your podcast cover, logo, and all of that. Your social media strategy and all of that stuff is ready to go. Got to publish it. Get it out there so people can go ahead and hear your content and see your content. And then lastly, promote your show. Do your due diligence in promoting your brand, your show, and do your best to monetize your podcast. Okay. And yes, you can make money from a podcast. All right. It's possible, but it's not going to happen overnight. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy today's conversation about the benefits of podcasting. And as I stated, early on, I've been given the opportunity now to partner with the Mogul TV Global Network. I'm going to be working towards building out my own channel with the network. So if you're a podcast, host, content creator, talk show host, whatever it may be, reach out to me. Hit me up. I'm your man, Dame DNYDC. You can go ahead and hit me across, social media at your convenience. IG, Facebook, Twitter, at Dame DNYDC. If you want to go ahead and hit me up, you can send me an email. I believe, you can hit us up at vp2mikes@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to have the opportunity to work for you to help you begin your podcast journey and get your work onto a TV network. Come on and rock with me. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's been another great episode of, Two Mics Up Business Corner. Either follow Two Mics Up across social media, IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Two Mics Up. Like I said early on, if you're here before you go, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell on your way out so you can be notified, by Two Mics Up of the newest content that we're bringing to you. You can follow along. As I stated, season 6 of Two Mics Up on the Mogul TV Global Network. Man, we just rolling it along, ladies and gentlemen. Man, we really killing the game. Check us out. Check out my network mates and all of the shows and different things that we're bringing to you on the Mogul TV Global Network. Continue to watch Two Mics Up Business Corner. You see it down at the bottom, Fridays, 1 p.m. here on our YouTube channel, on my LinkedIn page, Damon Cunningham, and on X at Two Mics Up. And like we do at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with a couple of things. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mics out.